All right, everyone. So, in the B1 notes for today, we're going to be looking at a little bit more information about the student interface that you'll be viewing while you're taking the SBAC test, and also some of the different question types that you'll experience on the test. So, everyone this year will be taking the Smarter Balanced Math test online on a computer. Some students have opted to test remotely from home, and other students will be taking the test in person. You'll begin by logging on through a secure browser. Make a note on the side of your paper here that if you're testing from home and if you don't have a Steel Canyon issued device, you'll need to download the secure browser onto your own computer. The teacher administering your test will then give you information about where you'll enter your name, your SSID, and your session ID because you need those to log in to take the test. You'll confirm some personal information. You'll select the test that you're scheduled to take, and then the computer will ask you to perform a sound and video check. And so you'll hit the corresponding buttons agreeing that you were able to both hear and see the video sound. The next thing is you'll be asked to review the test instructions, and then you'll click the Begin Test Now button to start the test. You'll use the buttons that are shown here on the screen to proceed next through the different questions that are on the test and answering questions as you go. You can skip questions along the way, and you can flag certain questions to come back to as being in need of review at the end. You'll just want to make sure that you answer them before you submit the test. Make a note on the margin on this one that you can't have out any supplementary materials while you're taking the test. No notes, no phone, no calculator. All you can have out is a piece of paper and a pencil. There are different features, global tools that are available to you during the test, including some of the ones that are shown here on this screen. Notice that one of the tools is a calculator, and so make a note on the side on this slide that says that a calculator will appear for you within the test on items that you are allowed to use a calculator for. When you reach the end of the test, there's an End Test button that you'll click on, and then this screen will pop up and it'll be ask you if you're sure that you want to end the test. It's important to note that this test is untimed, so write down in the margin on this one that you have as much time as you need to finish the test. You'll then be prompted to look over any questions that you had marked for review, and once you're done with your work, you're going to click the button that says Submit Test. Once you've successfully submitted the test, there's going to be a screen that pops up called the Test Successfully Submitted page. It has your name on it, it has the test name on it, and it has the completion date on it. And so that's how you know that your test has been turned in successfully. So the SBAC test has a lot of different types of questions. The problems that we've been practicing online in the homework assignments have been mostly multiple choice and select all that apply questions. However, this is partly because we've adapted some of the questions so that they fit within what Canvas Quizzes allows us to create. There's a lot of other different types of question types, and so today we're going to be looking at some of those examples. All right, the first type of question is multiple choice. These are perhaps the one that you're the most familiar with. It provides a list of answers for you to choose from. These questions have a single correct response, and so there's an example of a multiple choice question down here below. Notice that the bubbles are labeled A, B, C, and D, and so you would select the one correct solution to this question. In the margin on this one, make a note that multiple choice questions have only one correct solution. The second type of question is select all that apply questions. And so these can be sometimes tricky because you'll see a list of what looks like a multiple choice question. It provides students a list of answer options to choose or highlight. You have to mark a checkbox or highlight an option to select it. What makes these ones different though is that more than one options may be selected. In the margin for this one, write down that with select all that apply, you could get more than one answer to the question. Drag and drop questions are the next kind of question type that you might encounter. And so you're given a set of possible answers and you move them around the screen to what's called a response target. And so that target could be a block, a box, a table, or a different spot on the screen. And so you're going to click on drag, move, and then place that item in the appropriate spot in the question response area. On this one down below, the directions where it says drag are what tell you that this is going to be a drag and drop question. The numbers that are given to you in this column are the numbers that you're going to be placing into either of these two boxes. Make a note in the margin on this one that says that sometimes the items that you're dragging and dropping could be used more than once. All right, the fourth question type is what's called hotspot questions. And these questions ask you to click on a target area in the response area. It's like you're selecting the answer to the question. When you click on an answer, a selected area will generally become bolded or highlighted. And you'll know that it's a hotspot question because the directions will say something like these ones do where it says click. So in this particular example, you're supposed to click on the first step where an error was made. And so you would click on the text and that row would highlight indicating that that was the answer to the question. So it's different than drag and drop because you're not moving anything around. You're just clicking on it to select that as your answer to the question. Make a note in the margin on this one that when you select the text, it often becomes bolded or highlighted. All right, the next question type is called matching tables. In a matching tables question type, you're asked to select a checkbox corresponding to an option in a table cell. So look at the example that's down here. In matching tables questions, it can ask you to answer true, false type questions, yes, no type questions, or other questions. So look at the example that's down here. It's like 4 questions worked into one. You're trying to figure out whether each expression could be used, and so you would be clicking either yes or no for each of those questions. When you click inside the checkbox, a check or an X will appear that show you which one has been selected. The 6th type of question is short text questions. This is when you'll be given a text box and you'll be prompted to type your answer. You'll use your keyboard to explain something that's happening. It says there's no text formatting, so notice that for this one, it's not like you need to create an equation or do a lot of mathematical typing. You would be writing out words that describe your answer to the question. So it's kind of like a free response, but expected to be shorter. Make a note on this one that you always want to make sure to fully read the question so that you can answer all parts of the question in your explanation. The 7th type of question is called table fill-in. This is different than a matching tables question because in table fill-in, the cells of the table are editable. And so it asks you to type into cells or drag and drop items into table cells to complete the table. For your answers for table fill-in, the things that you're typing into the table can be either alpha, so they can be words that you're typing in, or sometimes they can be numeric. The next question type is graphing questions. And so in the graphing questions that you have, remember it's all computer based. So graphing questions ask you to place points or lines into a question response area. Notice that in this example down here, there's 2 parts. And so the graphing part is over here in part B. The add point tool that I'm highlighting up here on the top in yellow is how you add points onto the graph. Notice in the directions for this one for part B, it says you have to plot all possible combinations. So you would be using that tool more than once to plot all of the different possibilities on the graph that's given to you. And the final question type that you'll encounter on the SBAC math test is the equation or numeric answer type. These are ones where you have to read a description and then come up with an equation. So it asks you to select buttons representing numbers and mathematical symbols to create an equation to answer a question. Sometimes these can have multiple parts. Notice that on the equation questions, you're given formatting buttons here, similar to the buttons on a graphing calculator that you can use when you're typing in your answer to the question. Sometimes there can be more than one part of the question that you have to answer. And so notice for this one, it says enter and then it says enter again, and you're given 2 boxes on this one. So on this question, you're actually coming up with 2 equations. So you'll want to be careful that you read the directions to answer questions like that completely.